How's everybody doing today? This is Poet Deep, and you're tuned in to the Best Foot Forward series. And the title or the topic for today's talk is how to escape the poverty cycle when you are a low income earner. And what made me think about this is just from my own personal life because um, for years I have been a low income earner, and to this day I am still a low income earner that is still in the poverty cycle on certain degrees. Now, when you talk about low income, being a low income earner, all of these things are relevant to what you actually need to live a quality life. So, your responsibilities, um, to be able to take care of your responsibilities, but more so than anything, is making enough money to be able to thrive, not to just survive and to get by, but where you're really thriving at life, where you're able to financially support yourself and others, like your family, your children, in the ways that you really need to. So, meaning, prime example, if you're in a situation and you're buying some supplements, for your body, you're not confined by your budget to get a lower quality supplement because of your financial situation, but when you're thriving, you're able to buy yourself some of the best products. Not saying the best products are always going to be expensive, but what I'm saying is your decisions are not always made by your lack of money. And so for someone who, has a large family, their need for money will obviously be higher, but there are also people who have different standards of living, so what I might be able to live off of comfortably with all of my responsibilities of having I have 5 children, but 4 that I'm still financially taking care of because the oldest is doing for himself now. What might be able to work for me, you know, uh, might not work for somebody else in my same situation, right? So, and all of these things is about your own standards and things like that. What are your trade offs that you're willing to have in your life that will determine how you utilize your finances? One thing I've noticed with my family over the years, something that I've never compromised on, no matter how bad things got with money, never compromised being on a plant based diet, being a vegan, like never compromised that. Maybe sometimes certain products that I would get organic, I would get non organic, but I never compromised a vegan or plant based diet because that is like a very deep value to myself, and my family. So, with that being said, being a low income earner does not mean you cannot make great strides. It's all relative in comparison to how much debt you have with a low income. And like I say, is relative to certain people. Some people cannot really live off of 30,000 a year, but there's certain other people who have learned how to offset other costs and expenses and things like that. That um, 30,000 will work for them. Some people have been able to figure out ways to be able to live rent free, by acquiring multi unit properties. Whereas, let's say, for instance, if they had a 3 unit property or a 4 unit property, they live in one of the units and the other 3 they rent out. And from the rent that is being paid to them, it allows them to be able to pay the bank back for the mortgage on the property. So, a big expense, one of your most expensive expenses, which is living, they have already taken care of that. So, there are ways to offset that. There are some people, as far as food, food can become very expensive. There are some people who, before this COVID-19 situation happened, has always done a great job at always looking at coupons where sales are at, going to food banks, food giveaways, and things like that to lower the cost. For food, there's some people that grow certain things that they eat so that they're able to lower the cost like that, or they are affiliated with a garden and things like that. So there are many different techniques people are using to offset costs, to lower costs. So that's something to consider. Some people, far as even though this goes into the debt conversation, with having a car, everybody doesn't have a car note, or some people might have a car note and they didn't go buy, they didn't get a car that would amount to them having a higher car note amount. So, and some people, like I say, they don't have a car payment. So all of these things really differs. But the reason why I added poverty cycle is that's different when you're a low income earner trapped in a poverty cycle. That's different than just a low income earner. Because just because you are a low income earner does not mean you cannot have a high quality of life. But if you're caught in a poverty cycle, that quality is being negated by the conditions of that poverty. And one thing I think that happens a lot is in a poverty cycle, when you are struggling to get out of it, the first thing that we do is we work hard. We work a lot of hours and we constantly work because sometimes we're behind. And even sometimes when we're trying to get it, we trying to get ahead, we're putting so much time into survival that we are neglecting time to really study or involve ourselves into other strategies or other methods of being able to acquire wealth. And that can really become a trap. When you look at, you start looking at, especially if you're behind, you start looking at how much money you need in order to be able to accomplish certain goals of objectives. And when you start, budgeting your money out, you start really looking at what you're bringing in and what's going out. You're like, damn, I'm actually kicking out, the same, what's going in is going right back out. Like there's no room to save. And some of us work jobs that we don't even make enough money to take care of all of our expenses. So we're always going to be late on bills. We're going to incur late fees. We're going to, things are going to keep happening. And so that's going to always keep us set back. So we have to be very critical when we're in those conditions. And yes, if you have a job, you can work hard, you can get overtime, utilize it, but you got to have a strategy, and you have to understand that some of the value is not going to be in you always putting in the most overtime that you can put in. You have to find a way to break away. You got to make that sacrifice to be able to learn other ways to be able to enhance your financial stability. And that's going to come by way of study, changing mindset, how we see opportunity, and also looking at, is there a different way that we can leverage money? Some of us have unnecessary bills. Some of us have, if we really write down line for line what all of our bills are, what are we paying for on a monthly basis? Because some of us, we're just spending money. We see bills, we're spending money, but we're not looking at the money story. We're not looking at where it all goes. Some people have no idea where all of the money goes. And you have to track where your money is going. If you are a low income earner trying to escape the poverty cycle, you have to see where your money is going. You got to look at that picture. So when you look at that to be able to see where this money is going, then you're able to maybe start seeing trends and patterns for different months and things like that, because certain bills we have are fixed, meaning it's going to be the same every month. And then some bills are variable, they vary, like your gas and electric bill, that's going to change month to month and things like that. So sometimes, we might be looking at our cell phone bill and be like, do I actually need all of this stuff that's, making my cell phone bill this amount? Let me call this company and let me get 2 services taken down. That might take my bill down $10, $15. All of it counts, especially when you are a low income earner. It counts, period. But it makes a difference. And not necessarily the phone example, but some of us have subscriptions that we've forgotten about. There are automatic deductions coming out of our accounts that we're not always on track of when they're coming out. And I think we all should have notifications in our phone to let us know when bills are being automatically deducted from our accounts. And we should also have notifications in our phones when bills are due, at the time that they are due, and another notification for when it's at risk of being late if you have not taken care of it. Like, these are just general things that is good to do just to stay on top of, your financial situation. So look at where can you cut costs. Look at where you can cut costs, because increasing your income is definitely going to be a necessity at some point. But some of us are putting money in places that bring us no value. Some of us are not maximizing to the greatest extent the money that we are making. And before you start planning and working towards keep bringing in more money, you want to make sure you maximize on everything that you have right now. You want to make sure that everything that you have that you're paying for, you absolutely need it. It's an absolute need, and you want to make sure that you are addressing your needs, because sometimes we're so caught up moving so fast, working, not spending a lot of time to, collect ourselves, and especially if we got children. Then if we dealing with COVID-19, the schooling of our children now, we have to be more hands-on with our children with these devices and trying to navigate how this work is going to get done. These things take more time away from our ability to go to be to ourselves, to be able to plan. So I think we have to get away from the fast moving way of doing things. I believe to enhance your financial health, we must move very precise, and we have to find a time and a space where we can really calculate what we're doing, where we've been, and where we need to go. And when you have a good picture of what's going on, with your current finances, you also want to develop a picture for the future as studying what does it take to thrive, and what does thrive mean to you? What does a thriving budget looks like to you, right? And sometimes we got to be educated about different things. So some of us might be working, and the only life insurance policy we have is with our jobs. But if we lose our jobs, we lose our life insurance policy. And if we don't lose our life insurance policy with that company, then what happens is the rates go higher because we no longer have it at the rate that the company that we work for was able to offer to us as. So life insurance, having your own separate policy, individual policy, for your family or just yourself or whatever the case may be, that might be part of your thriving model. If you don't already have a gym membership, it doesn't have to be very expensive, but these are things that go and research and add up. I'm trying to think if there are better quality foods and things like that you want to be able to acquire and things like that, so you might add that as a miscellaneous item, or you might add up your food bill to be less, these are just examples, an extra $50 to $75 a month, because you want to get healthier foods, even though there's a way to eat healthy on a budget. And for the most part, meat eaters actually do spend more money, typically on average, than plant-based eaters. Now I've been on a plant-based diet for a decade now, and I know with over the years, if you are caught up into having to get all of the packaged products that come out of health food stores, I mean, like, what I'm trying to give an example of, let's just say it's a bag of nuts, some organic nuts in a bag, and you look at that bag and say, damn, that's $8.99. I could go to, Safeway or Giants or something like that and get something similar for $2.99. There, there's variations, there's nuances to those things about what to purchase, when you're on a tight budget. And I know about these things because I've had to do it for years. And I've done it for my family, feeding a whole family of vegans. At one time it was 7 of us total in the household, so I understand a little bit about that when you're a vegan and being able to purchase certain foods and things like that, but to budget the best with being on a plant-based diet, this is just an example. It's best to cook and prepare most of your own food, but you got to be able to make time to do that. And I understand a lot of us today do not make time for that. We think we don't have time to do things like that anymore as far as cooking our food. So you have to see what a budget looks like to thrive. And overall, without me being so detailed, is when you have a model of what it looks like to thrive. So say, for instance, to survive, this is just an example, don't take none of these numbers literal. You're able to live off of $2,500 right now a month to survive, to take care of what you need to take care of, keep the man off your back. But in order to thrive, where you're able to save money, you're able to invest, you're able to develop an emergency fund. What if that required you to earn an extra $2,000 a month? So now that becomes $4,500. You right? So when you start to scout for opportunities, scout for the opportunities that brings you closer to your thriving goal, not your surviving goal. Because some of us just take jobs because we need them, and we do need them. But if we're going to level up and start applying ourselves for greater opportunities and things like that, we have to move in alignment with what our thriving goals are. And say, for instance, you might go to a company, and these for people who are employed and looking for employment in a poverty cycle. Let's say, for instance, you go to this place and it's like, they're starting off with, an hourly wage that I'm not so crazy about, but do they give annual raises? And what are those annual raises? So you're looking at the trade-offs and stuff like that. Is there promotions within this company and things like that? Or what are they offering in their benefits package that allows me to be able to have leverage that brings me closer to my thriving goal? Because ultimately, if you're working, it should be about enhancing your quality of life. And your thriving budget is supposed to be a reflection of your desire to do that. So you should see, is there something within that company that can help you to get there? And if it's not, even if you used it, you stay with that company for a time period while you're scouting. You have to keep scouting for the opportunities that when you get to the point. And sometimes this might require for you to develop more skills, and I'm not necessarily saying go back to college. I think college should be utilized if you have a mission, a mission at hand. You understand the financial cost, and you have some resources to be able to bring that debt down should you incur it. If you would not be able to get many grants and things like that. So you definitely have to look at. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. You have to look at with this thriving budget. What are going to be the skills I need to have to earn this type of money, and start that process now. When you develop your vision for what thriving looks like and what type of finances that demands of you to make. So when you're scouting opportunity, you're not just jumping here, or I was doing this before, now I'm doing this, with job to job, on with this job, and it's not just working out. Because usually when we're staying at a job that's not really servicing our true needs in life, it's not the problem of the job. It's the problem of us not having a plan and not being intentional about how we're executing. And somewhere we're getting caught up. And so I made this video in hopes of people not getting caught up or working towards getting out. So if you have any feedback, any questions, please leave them. Share with a friend. Check out my website, IamPoetDeep.com. Check out my single Plagues on there. I have a project that's getting ready to be released real soon. Sign up your email. Sign up your email so you can get more notifications of content like this once it gets dropped. I appreciate everyone. And if you have any takeaways, please add them, feedback. I'm open to all of that. Have a good one. Peace.